it's Calxiyn and Hunter here. Before we get started, let me remind you guys that you guys should join our Discord server and become patrons over on Patreon. We're pretty close to one of our goals, actually, so you guys should check that out. You guys should help out with that endeavor. Anyways, so this episode was short, but it's Thanksgiving in America, yes, so I understand. Kind of. We won't blame them too much for it. And so videos for this week are gonna be a little bit difficult. I want to kind of get that out of the way. We definitely won't have as many as last week, but we will have our discussion, obviously, like we're doing right now. Also, some of you guys may be wondering where last week's Patreon discussion went. Again, Thanksgiving happened, and Hunter and I are in Canada, so we did not foresee those complications.
Yeah, we don't have your stupid fucking unnecessary. You all wanted to be different and have Thanksgiving on a different week.
A different month. Anyways,
even.
it's fine. Anyway, so this episode, we don't have a lot to talk about, I don't think, but, you know, like, we can talk a little bit. So we did have some fun times, you know, they were kind of rehashing old stories, you know, Jean was, and, I guess Team Ranger were talking about the map and how they kind of got lost on their journey with the Nuck and all of that sort of stuff, so,
You're really glib and jokey about how something presumably would be traumatizing.
I mean, can we assume that they know about Tyrion now, because Jean was just like, listen, this guy.
There was this gay scorpion person that was after me.
And so we can kind of assume that happened, but then you also have other callbacks like Vomit Boy and Ice Queen from previous volumes, you could say. And then, well, this kind of leads into something that Ren was talking about that I'll get to in a minute, but Weiss was just like, I don't remember being so terrible, and we're just like, but anyway, it's fine. And so then you have kind of Yang and Weiss, like, also kind of telling their, I mean, Yang didn't have much to tell, but Weiss was like, yep, right in the middle of the party, and Nora was just like, bitch, and then Weiss was just like, oh, you want to test me, are you sure, like, and then she pulled the boar out of her ass. I don't understand how she did that, like, with any sort of magic-y things, like, I don't know, I guess it was just done for a joke, but I'm like, okay, I guess Weiss got stronger, though, it's fine. She just summoned a boar, it's okay. Or maybe, I guess you could say that the last time the boar came out, it was because she was angry. Like, maybe she was a little pissed that Nora didn't believe her, right? And so she whipped it out real fast. Anyway, and so then you have the arm wrestling portion, which everybody was very excited about. Hunter, I know this happens a lot in fanfiction. Yes? Like, then Nora and Yang arm wrestling, or Yang arm wrestling with anyone, like, is sort of a concept that is thrown around a little bit. Would you agree? Or maybe not in, like, literal fanfics, but a lot of people draw art of that sort of situation happening, which in itself is a little of its own fan comic, let's say.
I think people often... Also, if you're wondering why I sound like this, it's because
Hunter's
I have
sick.
strep throat.
Is that fun. Really what you have?
I probably do.
Okay.
Because, goddamn, it hurts. Anyways...
I hope it's just all in your head, because, like, if I get sick, I'm gonna be mad.
I assure you, it's not.
You're not contagious?
I mean, maybe, I don't know, as long as you don't,
Are your parents sick?
Nope.
Okay, then you're fine. I don't know what kind of logic that is. Get your sister to check you out, she's a nurse. But anyway, what were you saying?
I think oftentimes fanfiction plays up Nora's bravado, and,
she's a lot hammier this season, I would say.
Nothing quite says bravado like arm wrestling, you know?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that happened. I don't know, I really enjoyed all of these little interactions, because it's how you kind of, I don't know, it's how you kind of imagine them talking, you know? They didn't show the entire conversation, obviously, because we already know all this stuff, but they're kind of like, oh yeah, like, Yang, you should have seen it, and Weiss was just like, well, let me tell you how I ran away from my father, you know what I mean? And so, there's all those sort of interesting things of trickling.
They're all really happy, because it's like, we almost died by a demon and a evil, like, scorpion person, and then, like, Weiss is like, I had a fit of domestic abuse. And then, presumably, they're also like, where's Blake? Possibly dead? Where's Kira?
Listen,
Definitely
they didn't.
Dead.
There were two, like, ends to the table, though, that didn't have seats. And I wonder if that was supposed to be Ozpin
That's what I guessed.
And Crow, or if it was supposed to be symbolic in some way, like double symbolism for the audience, because obviously the adults were in the adults were in another room while the kids were all talking, right? And so if there's supposed to be two other seats at the end of the table for the kids, you would assume that that would be Pyrrha and Blake, who are absent. So I thought that was kind of nice. If it was intentional, if it's not, death of the author, I don't give a shit. Like, it's mine now. The interpretation of the table or whatever. When you say that out loud, like, I interpreted the table, Hunter, like, that sounds a little ridiculous, but it's fine. Also, I like how, like, all of this, though, goes into Ren saying something very meaningful, and I feel like a lot of people need to hear in general, just, like, a good lesson that is, like, if you think that your past self was, like, stupid, like, that just means you've grown as a person, which is probably good. You know what I mean? And I think that's applicable in all things, and it's a nice Thanksgiving message to bring home, like, not Thanksgiving related necessarily, I guess, but, like, just, I don't know, like, lots of kids watch RWBY, right? And I feel like that's a valuable sort of thing to kind of stick in there that kind of, obviously it reflects on the characters and it relates to the characters, because Weiss is like, I don't remember being that mean, or like, maybe I do, and then,
yeah, I'm a bitch,
and then Yang was just like, maybe I was too this, and like, whatever.
Also,
like, obviously
totally
RWBY went from, like, I don't need friends to all of my friends, I have friends forever, you know what I mean? Like,
also, I feel like we didn't bring up that when Nora and Yang were fighting, she located her arm.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I didn't want to really talk about that. That was a little weird.
I feel like either it was just for, like, a weird joke, which I totally did.
You guys will see my reaction to that next week. I'm not a screamer. Like, I'm not a screamer reaction YouTuber. Like, some reaction YouTubers are screamers. Like, they will scream at everything. I'm not calling anybody out, just saying, like, because I don't watch enough reaction YouTubers to know exactly who you guys may think I'm talking about. But I'm not, like, this episode I was a little bit of a screamer, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you guys need to hear me scream once in a while. It's fine. I gotta get it all out. It's okay. And so, anyway, yeah, so that's one of the places where I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are they doing?
I dug it, but I also feel like that's gonna come up later. Like,
there's gonna be a callback to that.
She's gonna pop it off.
Like, do you ever watch a horror movie where they're, like, they point out some, like, random object, and you're like, yeah, that object's gonna be in the final fight, or something like that. And so it's sort of, I can't think of a good example. Oh, well, in Hush, Hush? I don't know if you guys were, like, know of this, but on Netflix there was this movie, and it was about, this death woman, and she has this, fire alarm, and the fire alarm basically vibrates the entire house, and, like, basically causes an earthquake, like, in her house, so she wakes up in case of a fire, right? That's something that, deaf people need, because they wouldn't be able to hear a fire alarm. And then later she turns it on, and basically, like, freaks the fuck out of the person stalking her or something. So that's a good example. So I think, yeah, Hunter, I think it is gonna come up again. Like, I could kind of picture it like this, that Blake and Yang are fighting Adam, let's say. I don't think that's exactly where it will be, but,
she
Adam,
just, like, got your nose and...
Yeah, Adam, like, is coming at Yang or something, and then Yang, like, grabs him by the arm, and then, like, she basically pops it off. Adam goes flying back into, like, Blake's, ribbon things, and they kind of, like, catch him. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that's just an example of how it could be used, but I think you're right. Like, that's not... I don't see that as something being a one-off joke, necessarily. Yeah. Like, it looks like, here is something Yang's arm can do. Please remember this next time we do it.
I also feel like that happens, and then I feel like the first time, like, canonically, if that were to happen, she'd be like, oh, fuck, how do I fix this?
Because think about it, like, other things have been kind of built up like that, where, Velvet was taking pictures of all the weapons, and, like, we just thought she was a shit photographer, right?
Yeah.
And then later...
That was more clever, I think.
Yeah, it was, definitely, but, Yang's kind of an in-your-face kind of gal. Velvet isn't, so, you gotta tailor to every individual girl's needs, It's fine. Why are you looking at me like that? Anyway, so, yeah, Ren had this nice little speech. Uh-oh. Ren had this nice...
It's spreading!
Okay, Ren had this nice little speech about, like, if you think your past self was an idiot, then you're doing good, because that means you've grown as a person, and I feel like that's a good message for the characters, because, again, as I said, obviously, they have grown up, but it's also a good message for the viewers at home. You know what I mean? Like... Especially, like, I'm not gonna shade anybody, but I have a lot of kids in my Discord, and I am still a kid, and I can admit that I did some stupid thing. Like, That's why my fanfiction.net account is empty when I have uploaded it in the past. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have erased my embarrassing self. It is gone.
Really? So you no longer have that, like, Spider Rider?
Okay, that got deleted way, way before this, but I deleted all of the fanfiction. The Island Massacre, even, like, I don't want to say the good one, but the finished one, where they were all in the bunker, or whatever, and it was the end of the world times. Like, it's all gone. Is all gone. So don't worry about it. But yeah, so, like, I feel like that's something good that Ren can, like, shoehorn in to be like, hey, kids, listen, you're stupid, alright, grow, you know, you can, like, when you get older, you'll realize it, just chill, okay? And, like, I don't know, that personally relates to me right now because I'm doing NaNoWriMo, if you guys don't know, which is National Novel Writing Month, and I'm like, everything I've written is shit. Like, everything that I'm writing is shit. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, if, like, the past stuff was shit and I'm rewriting it, at least that means that I guess I've gotten better. At least in my own head, right? Because if I recognize that the last part was bad and rewriting it to make it quote-unquote good, at least I know. I know better. You know what I mean? And so it's a good message all around. It feels good for Thanksgiving. Even though you guys have, like, the fake Thanksgiving. You Americans.
You're like, we killed a lot of Native Americans, but we're cool with it. Let's get shit-faced and eat a lot of turkey.
Mm-hmm.
My throat's really sore.
Anyways, so yeah, Ren's speech I feel like was important, and I like that in this episode, Crow was just like, how much noise does 8 kids make, you know what I mean?
He was like hungry. He was the
8 kids?
hungover.
6 kids?
6.
How many are there?
There
I don't know.
6, I believe.
Yeah. And so I like that Crow, like, he's always been kind of the cool uncle, but, like, when he's hungover, he's not feeling it anymore. I like that Yang and Weiss were then like, okay, so they got an explanation, obviously, but they were like, so Raven was telling the truth. Ah, shit. And, like, like, you could see in their body language that Yang was really pissed that her mom was being honest. Like, you could just see it.
Yeah, that would be interesting, having someone lie to you for so long and then literally
I mean,
say,
she's never lied to her before. She just left her, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or maybe just
act. She's just honest.
Okay. I mean, she's a shitty person, but she's honest about it. Maybe that's what I mean. She's someone be so shitty to you, but then so honest to you.
And so, like, I feel like that was super important that they did that this episode, because they established all that. But then I like that Yang and Weiss were kind of going after, like, okay, listen, why did you turn them into birds? And then Ozpin's like, well...
And we had to pause the video. I'm like, if they were literal spies seeing through their eyes...
I'm sure we'll get more info on that later, but somebody pointed out to me that if you flip Crow... Or, not flip, but if you put Crow in Raven's sigils together, you know how they both have that dot in the middle?
Yeah.
If you put it together equally, like in Photoshop, those 2 dots in the middle look like clockwork. And, like, they're spinning corks or whatever, like spinning gears. Yeah, cogs. And so that represents the Ozpin in them. Do you see? It's clever, isn't it? But anyways, so Ozpin was like, compared to what I did to the maidens, listen, the birds thing was child's play, alright? So that...
And it turns out he is, in fact, the wizard. Like, we already kind of knew
I know,
that,
like, last week Hunter was like, he hasn't been confirmed to be the wizard yet, and I was like, well, fuck off! You know what I mean? Because now they finally confirmed it. I want to do a video all on that. Like, just on that topic alone this week, because I need to rub it in Hunter's face more.
The many lives of Ozpin, every person that he was in the past that we can confirm. Which would be Ozpin, and then I guess that king from the Ancient War, as well as the wizard.
But he was like, something else I want to talk about this week is he was like, yeah, compared to what I've done in the past, like with the maidens and my other feats of magic, like this was child's play, like the birds thing was easy. And last week we did a video on Salem and her relationship to Ozpin. You guys should go watch that if you haven't already. And so this kind of, I don't want to say enforces, but this kind of gives more breadth to my kind of idea that Ozpin made Salem the way she is somehow, like with his quote-unquote feats of magic. Because if turning them into birds was easy, right? Salem's still human, right? So all she is like, she looks on the outside is different and may have some grim powers. Like, compared to what he did to the maidens and what he did to Crow, like, that's some easy shit. You know what I mean?
And he also said that was just a fraction of his power.
Exactly.
So it's entirely possible that he could have made it.
So we gotta talk about that, like, separately. But yeah, I was like, fuck off, Hunter! I was right! Like, I was so happy. But anyway. So I like that Yang and Weiss went in on him. They were like, we need some explanations here. We need some info. And I like that, you know, Ozpin was like, everybody has choices. And I was like, do they, though, now that you've condemned them to life? But I guess she's still human. It's okay. Anyways. So, I like that Yang said that she'd stick with RWBY, but on the condition that there would be no more lies with Ozpin. That Ozpin would have to tell them the truth, no leaving out information, and Ozpin was like, sure, okay. But I don't think that is going to stand, necessarily. Like, I don't think that is going to be maintained, because I'm sure that Team Stark also wanted the same honesty with Ozpin, and obviously Raven found a way to leave. Or a reason to leave, I should say. And so I feel like even though Ozpin's like, okay, yeah, sure, right now, like, I'll be honest with you, I promise, I feel like his promises are empty just because he is trying to figure out a way to defeat Salem and come at rest. So I feel like this is going to be a concept that comes up later, like, say, with Summer Rose, for example. If Yang finally asks what happened to her and she finds out the truth, and whatever that truth may be, if it involves Ozpin. Like, say Ozpin tells her something, but then Raven tells her something else, and, like, they find out that he lied, for example. Something like that. Like, I feel like we're not necessarily done with this concept of Ozpin being a little shit and being a liar. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like this is something that is going to be not a reoccurring issue, I should say, but it is going to come up later, because Yang or Weiss, because I feel like they're the most skeptical of the group, like, I feel like they are going to go over this at a later date, I suppose. I don't know how to make this sound any weirder. That, like, they are going to ask Ozpin for something and then find out he's not telling the entire truth, and that is when Weiss and Yang will maybe start questioning their allegiance again. And I actually would like to do a video on another topic, which is, like, I was discussing with Al. If you guys don't know, Al did some videos with us before, on Crow, because that is all Al cares about in RWBY. It's just Crow, guys. It's just Crow. But basically how the girls sort of reflect Team Stark, in that our kind of idea is that Weiss is going to, like, basically represent Raven, and she's going to be the one to leave, and we can talk about that more in that video. So stay tuned, basically. Stay tuned for that. But anyway, I like that Yang was just like, no more lies, and then Ozpin was like, fine, whatever. And then, like, Oscar came back, and he was like, I'm touching a girl, like, you know what I mean? And so that was funny, I thought. Now, the most important part of this episode, I would say,
and the least Thanksgiving-y,
was,
actually more, anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Anyways, and so it was Mercury, Emerald, and Cinder, and so Mercury's just like, hey bro, is, like, Raven home? I don't think he said it like that. Like, is Raven Branwyn here? And then the other dude was like, look, kid, I've been having a tough week, okay? And then, you know, Mercury was like, I don't, yeah, he's Shady Dude, man.
Shady Man.
I guess like shade is a color.
Or just...
Or a color related, or term. Whatever. Because shade makes you think of dark.
Or just different shades of color.
And so, anyways, that's not important. And so, like, then Emerald was also there. Like, Mercury and Emerald actually talked. Praise be to God. Like, that's all I have to say. Like, a lot of people, I don't want to say people were cheesed, but people definitely knew that, like, I don't want to say even that they knew. Last volume was hard for fans of Emerald and Mercury. We saw them all of, like, 3 times, I would guess. Not even 3. Like, maybe 3. But it's nice to see that Cinder and her crew are back in action where they belong. Fucking up shit.
Watts is in the background.
Yeah, Watts is just supervising, basically. Like, he's just making sure everything goes well.
He's like, you do the hitting, I'll do the condescending.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I like how, then, you know, Emerald's like make them pay, and instead of Mercury walking up, it's Cinder's like make them or whatever, make them something. Just make them Emerald. No, and then Emerald like moves forward instead of Mercury. I thought that was nice. Just because like you kind of get the idea that Mercury is in it like for a couple things, but I feel like Emerald's just really in it for Cinder. And we've talked about that. I don't think we've done a shipping video on Emerald and Cinder before.
I think we have.
Have we? Are you positive? What's it called, though?
I don't know.
I don't think we have, Hunter. I don't think we have done... I think we've mentioned it, but I don't think we've done a formal video. I'll have to look, but I'm pretty sure we haven't. Sad times, man. But anyway, and so I liked, for our shipping purposes, I like that Emerald was the one to go first and be like, yes, your majesty. Like, do people do, like, handmaiden AUs with Emerald and Cinder?
They do a lot of things with them.
Okay, I was just curious. Anyway, and so I like that. Like, I like that Mercury and Emerald had this sort of back and forth talking to the guy that Yang beat the shit out of, and, like, Cinder was just kind of, like, Cinder talked, obviously, but she was more at the back, like, I want to see what you guys can do. Please, murder them. You know what I mean? Like, so that was nice, and Watts said nothing. So that is kind of where we're at with this episode, I think. This is a short little analysis, I guess, because there's nothing to analyze, not really. Like,
a lot of cool stuff. I liked the episode.
Yeah, I liked it too. I feel like it was refreshing, you know what I mean? Like,
so much murder. Nice to have just a little bit of Thanksgiving.
I know, exactly. And so I feel like that's why they did it this week.
Not to say that, you know, Thanksgivings didn't have some murder in them historically, but hey, what do you want?
You know, like, I feel like when you kind of, I don't want to say when you look at it, but when you look at things, we've been through, like, some hard times, and now to see everybody just happy together, and Ozpin even promotes this idea, like, listen, okay, we can worry about tomorrow, but you guys just have fun tonight. Like, take a fucking break. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice, you know? And it's also nice for the RWBY YouTubers, because now we don't have as much work to do. Like, obviously we love making videos for you guys.
Not when we have strep throat.
And, this week, like, we do have videos to do, don't worry about it. But I know from talking to other RWBY YouTubers, they're literally so swamped right now that it's nice to kind of have a little bit of a break. With this episode, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure some of them would have liked a World of Remnant, you know, to supplement them, but apparently World of Remnants aren't happening anymore, so. Instead, it is gonna be, it's gonna be more, relaxing. This week is gonna be relaxing for a lot of people. I can catch up on paid Patreon videos that aren't shit. Arnold is totally swamped from what I hear from him with work. We can all get our lives sorted out and we'll be, like, ready for, like, actual action next week, because it seems like from where Emerald is, we are leading into a fight. And anything else you want to say, Hunter? I don't know. I really enjoyed it. You guys will get a lot more out of my reaction to it than I feel like you will out of this particular video, because this is analysis and comments, but, you know, we mostly talk about the analyzing part. But when there's nothing to, we cannot assess what does not need, or what does not exist to be assessing. You know what I mean?
Despite what you have in fact seen, we can't turn lead into gold. I know.
It's okay. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Remember, if you enjoyed, you guys should become Patreons or join our Discord server on Discord. We're almost at 500 members now on the Discord server, which is a little scary, but it's okay. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.